Go.
She went to county school.
Did you go to John Carroll? No, I'm sorry.
I'm a Yankee. I'm not from
Oh,
this
that's
state.
right. You're not even from here. We got somebody in here from Vermont, y'all. So y'all bear with us. She counted us down in Vermont language. But
What
welcome
is
to not
crabs
necessarily.
and, what's up in there? Lobster?
I don't know language. None
That's
of that.
Maine.
Is that Maine?
I don't know the difference.
Welcome to
Vermont's
Not
maple
Necessarily
syrup.
Political, man. It is Sunday. We always enjoy being here. We always have fun doing this.
And I'm Lonnie Malone.
And he didn't let me get over there. Again. He never lets me get over there. Right? That's Lonnie Malone. And I'm James Williams. And in the studio today, man, we've got a special guest. It's going to be cool. Actually, it's Mr. Heath Boackle, and he's running for Jefferson County Sheriff. You know, I put a post up about that, and I was like, nobody's really kind of focusing on the sheriff's race. And that's kind of very important. Very important to me. Don't you think, man?
It's very important.
You know, this is the sheriff.
One of the most powerful positions in the state of
It's
Alabama.
like the top cop in the county, right?
Right next to the governor almost. It's up there.
I mean, it is. So we wanted to, bring information about the candidates that are running for sheriff because, right now, law enforcement and relations is strenuous. So we feel like we should have conversations and you find out who your best choice is for county sheriff. Welcome in, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We
Thanks so
appreciate you.
much.
We appreciate you coming out. I love a guy that's early. That's positive, you guys. Politicians usually make you wait for them, so please keep that up. That is a beautiful thing. But who is Heath Boackle? Because we hear Boackle, Boackle. Let's get that straight first.
So I appreciate again for having me because I think that what you said is very important because we're dealing with an incumbent sheriff that's been 5 terms, I think, elected.
It's 20 years.
I think he was anyway. It's 5 terms, I believe, that he's been reelected. But anyway, so yes, it's Heath Boackle, not Boo Hacker, not Bay Hackle, not
Absolutely.
ever how you want to chop it up, But it's just Heath Boackle. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I've lived in Birmingham or worked in Birmingham all of my life. I grew up in Roebuck. Attended Arthur Elementary School, went to Smith Middle School, and graduated from Huffman High School. Shortly after graduation, I went to a grocery store business. Used to be a Food Max down on Parkway East. I worked there for a couple of years. Went to UAB. While at UAB, I decided, I'm going to follow in my deep family history of law enforcement, and I joined the police academy in 1997, and I've been with Birmingham ever since. So that's a little bit about me. So my father is currently the longest serving, not only law enforcement officer, but city official to date.
Right.
He hired on with the city of Birmingham in November of '71, if my memory is right. My mother did 19 years with the city of Birmingham before she left, and then my stepmother did a little over 8 years before she was shot in the line of duty on the western side of Birmingham on a traffic stop. So, law enforcement and public safety's kind of been in my blood, it has been my whole life. It's something I believe is important, and that's why I do agree with you. This sheriff's race is something that the voters really need to pay attention to.
Right.
Not just look at somebody by the color of their skin, but really hear what they're having to say and what they do.
Absolutely.
And hold them accountable, be transparent. And right now, it's not that way. And that's kind of what catapulted me into deciding to do this because I feel strongly, and I know for facts, that not everybody in the county is represented or treated the same way when it comes to simple things like public safety. And we want to work on that. And we're going to solve that problem if I'm elected as sheriff.
When you say not transparent, what do you mean?
Well, let's use simple things like body cameras. I am as the president of the FOP, I caught a lot of slack years ago when Birmingham wanted them. And I was a very strong advocate for them because I thought that we should have them.
Right.
Because it will show what really took place to a degree. Now, does it show everything? Absolutely not.
Right.
But at least it gives more of a real-time experience to what's happening. But now that Birmingham has gone live with them for several years, we have officers that just won't even go to work without them. So being the president of the FOP, There's a little over 1,100 members that are involved in our lodge, and it's not just Birmingham. It's people throughout Jefferson County and some even into Shelby County. So those are things that we believed that is the first step, and let's state facts. I mean, Birmingham's complaint level has gone down since the use of body cameras. There's been a lot of complaints from the public safety world that when somebody says this happened or the police did this or whatever, they can pull this body cam footage and see what actually happened. When I say they pull it, it would be internal affairs when
Right.
complaints and things like that are made.
Right.
So, that's kind of the first and foremost, some issues about that.
Question is, you still over there tapping as usual?
I would just like to say, make sure you follow us on Not Necessarily Political on Facebook. It's Not Necessarily Political with James Williams and Lonnie Malone. On YouTube, subscribe and like, share us at Not Necessarily Political with James Williams and Lonnie Malone. And on Twitter at Necessarily Not. What experiences that you've experienced in law enforcement that you enjoy? What's the benefits and perks of being that make you want to run for sheriff? Like, we understand the bad stuff. Give me some good stuff.
So, I tell people all the time, always remember this. There was an instructor when I was in police academy, and his name was Nat Dunn. And he says, no matter what, I want you to remember that you all came to this job didn't come to you. So that always kind of stuck in my head with me. So as far as the job, when you're able to help people, that's what it's about. It's about, even if you stop and help somebody on the side of the road change a tire, or you help resolve somebody's problems, whatever they may be. Now, police are tasked, law enforcement is tasked with so many things. One day you might go on a call and need to be like a therapist, in a domestic situation. Another day you may get a call and have to do a burglary report. There's so many different hats you have to wear. And I've always enjoyed that. Even being a supervisor that I am now, I'm still out in the field. I really believe that. I believe if you're going to make things better, you've got to understand what's going on in these communities and in these neighborhoods. And that's one thing, that I think a lot of law enforcement, we get complacent, just like anybody in any job. And, you got to keep motivating the troops to say, look, we've got to do better at this, or when you did good at something, you need to let them know, hey, we've done good at this. But that's probably one of my main reasons for joining in this, is just to make sure that to get out in the streets and provide whatever protection or help that can be for the citizens.
Now, we're going to be honest about it. You sound like a great cop, but a sheriff is also a politician.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Because you got to be elected. So
right.
obviously, this guy is a politician. Okay, so now we're looking at the political side, the enforcement side, your troops, all of that is great. But the relationships between the sheriff department and the community has been strained, and that is fair to say.
I agree with that.
What would you do differently?
Or can you do?
Or can you do differently?
What the first, I ask people this since I've been out here. I'm still having to work my regular day-to-day job.
Right.
Go home and change, and then I get out in this political world. And it's been eye-opening for me, because so many people say I never hear from the sheriff, or we never see the sheriff unless it's an election time. And it's happening right now. People ought to be seeing it because it's happening. Even these commercials, because even when I came out about the campaign itself, I wanted to ensure diversity inside the sheriff's department. And the commercial gets aired now, and there's a lot of African American participation in it, and it's obvious of what's happening.
Right.
But to answer your question, you're right. The sheriff has really two hats, and I'm learning the political side.
Right.
I'll be honest. It's not something that if somebody would have told me 6 years ago, or even 2 years ago, because I really started thinking about this about a year and a half ago, so about 2 years ago, that I was ever going to try to get into something political, I would have kind of laughed.
Yeah.
But there's a need for it. So the first thing as it relates to that is, as the sheriff, I would be more involved in the communities, making sure I attend these community meetings at least one a week. Because one thing I do know now You know, we talk about Birmingham and the 99 neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
That's just a quarter of this county. And people seem to forget that. And I've been to places in this county that was, you know, I was scratching my head. I was talking to some people in Vestavia last night, you know, that are, and they were like, well, you know, why should we vote for you? And then when I tell them these things, and then they kind of scratch their head. I mean, simple things like, what are we doing proactively from a law enforcement community as it relates to shopping centers right now? We had what happened in Fairfield, okay?
Right.
We're just going to wait for something to happen at the Summit or wait for something to happen somewhere else. You know, we've had these school shootings. We just had Huffman, which was my alma mater. What's in place?
Right.
Everybody wants to point fingers at somebody else that's sitting around. But when are we all going to come together and say, okay, if you do this, this one do this, and everybody have I don't want to say an assignment, but take part in helping the problem? That's something that chief law enforcement officer, the sheriff, should be doing.
Right.
And not just doing it in certain areas of the county, but for everybody. And they're always quick to say, well, you know, Midfield's got their own department, Trussville's got theirs, Birmingham's got theirs, but you are the county sheriff. So even though you may not be the policy and decision maker for these counties or for these cities, you should still be sitting at the table to make sure that everybody is on the same page, so that if they're doing something, say, in Gardendale, we need to make sure that the same protocols are in place in Hoover or Birmingham, or at least know what each other are doing. That's what's so big about the MAC Center, that 80% of the people I've talked to since I've been on the trail have no idea what that is. And that's a shame that people don't understand what that is, because there's so many people involved in that center. It can do a lot of good things if it's ran the right way. I personally don't think, I think in the mindset, it's a great idea, but it needs to be refocused and revisited, and it would be under my administration.
Unincorporated Jefferson County is usually ran by the sheriff. Just off the top of my head, we got Forestdale, small areas like Dolomite, Docena, Edgewater, McDonald's, Chapel. Are you saying that those areas are getting policed differently than Vestavia Hills or other areas of Jefferson County that you're saying they're being treated differently?
What do you think?
Well,
I mean,
I'm going to say yes, because
and that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I know it. I'm out there. I see it.
Right.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. But see, the same way those citizens are getting or not getting the coverage and the help they need.
Absolutely.
You know, the county says, oh, we don't have the manpower. But yet you have the largest reserve deputy program.
You got satellite offices, right?
Yes. But you have reserve deputies that can help and do this kind of stuff, okay?
Right.
Even if it's just adding a car out there for a couple hours at the hot times. There's things you could do, you're just not doing it. But yet you want to cry wolf, you know, well, we don't have this or we don't have that, or you want to come at me politically. One thing I've learned about this political arena, you know, is, oh, that's the white guy running. I'm so sick of hearing that, because you really don't even know my heritage when you call me a white guy.
You're not a white guy.
People look at me and they say, oh, and I try to tell, I want to just grow my hair back out so people can see what an Arabic American looks like.
Would you have the curls, man?
I would have the curls. But
is he the first Arabic running for sheriff?
That's a good point.
I would be.
That's a good point.
So we had the first Asian, now we got the first
Now we got the
Arabic.
first
Man, we are international.
Absolutely. Hey, man, gumbo at its finest.
Gumbo.
But you're not a white guy, though, honestly.
My culture, I go to St. Elias, which is a Maronite Catholic church.
Right.
And we're Lebanese. My family is from Zahali, Lebanon. My grandmother and my grandfather were both born there, and then they came here. And that's my roots, you know. And it was so bad back then, even when my mother and father met, they were not even married a year, because back then, the church that my father attended, they were against marrying outside of your race. So it caused a lot of pressure on them, you know, and ultimately the marriage didn't last. But, you know, everybody's quick to judge a book by its cover. If you don't like Heath Boackle because you don't like what Heath Boackle is saying, or you don't like, for whatever reason, that's fine. But see, here's the thing. I haven't heard any other candidate talk about what they want to do other than adopt other things here and there and how they work with federal agencies. Well, let me tell you, I've worked as a task force officer with every single federal agency that we have here, with an exception of the FBI. So being a task force officer trying to get their help, they're only going to help on certain things. This is our community. we've got to do something. We have to work together, and that's the whole purpose of bridging the gap between community and law enforcement.
Well, you tell me programs that you think that would help us coexist, because we see now that we need a happy median between law enforcement and community.
Right.
And maybe, you know, when we were kids, we knew every policeman, or it was okay to even talk to them or walk up to them.
They
knew
go
us.
home one day and get
You
out.
know, right.
And that's where, you know, we have to challenge our law enforcement officers, is to get to know the people. You know, it's hard. There's a lot of turnover in law enforcement right now. Let's be clear.
Absolutely.
You know, for some departments, people want to come in and work at these high-call places like Birmingham, get a couple of years in, and then they leave. They go to other areas for more money, less calls. I mean, depending on where you work in Birmingham, you could answer 15 to 20 calls minimum in an 8-hour shift.
Wow.
That's a lot. Where you could come over the mountain, make more money, and answer 3 calls for the shift. So, but that's the service tier in my thing. And again, about providing the professional service for everybody, but ultimately you have to get more boots on the ground, because if people are not wanting to get in law enforcement for whatever reason, they're still citizens that need to be served. So the first thing I would do, like I said, is revitalize the sheriff's deputy or reserve deputy program, because you can decrease crime by increasing involvement in the community.
Right.
Now, I didn't say anything other than involvement. And what I mean by involvement is getting out, talking to people, learning what's going on. Even if you just walk to somebody's door and knock, say, hey, how you doing? I'm Officer so-and-so, or I'm Deputy so-and-so. How's your day? That's what's missing here in some parts of Jefferson County. Yeah. Okay? Now, it's not that way all the way.
How do we realistically do that, though? Because, I mean, if a cop come knocking up to my door, I'm nervous. I'm like, what in the world have I done? And just to show you the damage that's been done. So how would you, being sheriff, how would you do that? Or how could you do that?
Lead it by example. And if elected, I'd be the first one going to knock on people's door and say, hey, what can we do?
Right.
What can we do to help you? What are some problems here? So you would hope that, and we would stress in the command that, look, if the sheriff's out here doing this, we all need to do this. And I would challenge them to do that. And I would hold them accountable to do that, because that's how effective policing is done. And it's protecting the public. If you know the beat guy in your neighborhood, you will feel better talking to him. You will feel better if you know each other on a first name basis. Because let's face it, we all know there's some cops that go to rookie school, they graduate, they put the badge on their chest, and they think, oh, everybody needs to listen to me now. You understand? And then they're going to meet the wrong somebody one day, regardless of that uniform, and they're going to say, oh, well, he disrespected me. Well, how did you first encounter him? Did you just walk up to him because you got a badge on your chest and talk to him any kind of way? If so, you can't do that, and you should be held accountable for your actions. And that's where it starts. We've got to revamp the way community policing is done. Everybody's always quick to say, oh, community policing. You know, it's almost like when something happens, people always say, you know, thoughts and prayers. So whenever there's a problem, we want to say community policing. Community policing only can be utilized if the officers understand what it is to do to be public officials in community policing. And that means, just like I said, getting out, talking to people, doing things, and not expecting something in return. Right. You know, we always, as humans, we think if we do something, that we should get something back or something. Sometimes you just got to swallow your pride and realize you signed up for this job. We need to make this area better for everyone. Some people can't help where they live. Yeah. Some people are trying to make it where they live. But, you know, their hands may be tied for whatever reason. They may be down on the dumps in life for a little bit, but they still deserve respect.
Don't be quiet today, man.
I'm quiet, man. I have a hard time believing that the police and the people will ever get together. I believe in this race, I started paying attention to the governors.
Right.
Especially after we interviewed Sue Bell Cobb. I really started paying attention to the sheriff after I met Heath. Right. I've been researching the other guys, and I'm going to tell you right now, man, I'm not impressed with the other people. I've been the county commissioners, 1 and 2. I'm really interested in those. The judges, I understand that. But the sheriff,
those are important, man.
Those are very important. But it's a different run. The sheriffs, we never see. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, we haven't. Let's say that.
No,
But
I don't know what Mike Hill looks like today.
Yeah, up until this point.
And Mike Hill, you say been in there almost 20 years?
Yeah,
You get what I'm saying? I see his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what good is it? How can I trust an entity? You're saying we're going to get out there. I really applaud that. Not because you're sitting here. Because I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely.
You win, I'm going to be asking, where's Heath Boackle?
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And I don't want to interrupt you, but that's why I'm glad social media is the way it is, because I don't know who's watching me, and I don't know what's...
Absolutely.
But, I'm saying it now. So not only you, not only
a whole lot of
everybody
right.
can hold it.
No, because...
You got to say, and that's what I'm getting at. There's been these other candidates say this, say that, but how many of them have gone on record saying the things I've said? I get attacked now by the color of my skin, like I said earlier.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy.
It's
crazy.
I'm telling you what I can do. I can beat Mike Hill. I can beat him, and I'm going to beat him. But we get caught up in this. We want this, the way this guy looks to represent us, or this guy. How about get somebody that represents you, that's going to be held accountable? And I've said this, and I'll say this live, and I had said this in a lot of places, so this is hot off the press. My chief deputy, if elected, will be an African American male.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
He already knows who he is.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
We're going to make that happen. Because even before any of this other stuff started, he was somebody I spoke with that I've known for a lot of years, and it says, Heath, we can do this, and we can do it together.
Right.
And that's what it's about.
Right.
And but back to your thing about Mike, because I was reading some notes, because I took some things. In 2014, Mike Hill was reelected to his 5th term of service in Jefferson County. In the 2014 election, Hill beat Anger by almost 20,000 votes. So
By 20,000.
by almost 20,000 votes. That's from an AL.com article.
Wow.
So
My thing is, you appear to be the only one that doesn't work for Mike Hill.
well, there's one other guy that's a retired from the state, but the other two do work in the sheriff's department.
So how do you run against your boss?
So that's what's happening right now.
How do you run against your boss?
Wow. Well, I mean, you want better, right?
Well, how are you going to expose the things that are happening in the sheriff's office, and then you say you do?
But that's kind of different.
And then you see, and that's what I'm saying. There's things when
kinda
I challenge anybody to look at any politician that's been in politics for fixed to be elected on his 6th term. So that's 4 years apiece. So 4, 8, 12, 6. That's 20 plus years.
That's too much.
And ask yourself who hadn't been involved in something shady. That's too long. And I've said, and I'll say this here: if I do win, I'm not going to sit there no more than 2 terms. Yeah, I'll run for a re-election, if I'm successful.
Right.
But 8 years is it, because things change. Look at how we're doing this all live now. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll never see any of the other. I don't want to say any of the others, but you'll never see Mike Hill sitting right here where I'm sitting, and I challenge him to.
Yeah.
And I challenge him to ask some of these questions.
And we've asked him to come, man.
And
we've asked him to
so
come.
this
Please
is
come.
what I mean about being held accountable.
Right.
You've got homicides. You've got over 100 that were in Jefferson County just last year. It's quick to say, oh, these happened in Birmingham, or these, buddy, it's all in Jefferson County.
And that's
what are you doing?
That's what upsets me, because it's a separation.
Absolutely.
It's almost like Birmingham is an island and Jefferson County is
I'm a
a
little
whole
irritated now that if we've asked him and he didn't come, and we got ex-Governor Don Siegelman is ready to come, knowing that we can ask him just tough questions, that's a little irritating, because
Look,
you're not relating to the people.
This is what's realistic, man. Listen, man. Obviously, don't miss the point, and I get the point of what he's saying.
I get it.
It's just like Richard Shelby being where he's been. He's been there kind of like Mike Hill, right? You're talking about 6 or 7 terms of a guy who eventually you're just gonna think you're invincible, man.
But y'all are missing my point. They are not relatable to the people. That means that nothing will ever get done. If I don't relate to Julia,
right,
we're never going to connect. We're never going to grow.
Right.
Same as you and I. If we stop connecting, we're not growing.
But the purpose and the point of what we're doing, even with this show, you and I are opposite, actually. We got a Caucasian lady with us. We got a guy that's running for sheriff that's actually Lebanese. He's not a white guy. We had Kwando up here. He's an Asian. That's the world today.
Right.
That's Alabama 21st century. So if people are still you know, I say this and I continue to say this. I cannot stand the black card.
Yep.
Do not give me. Every day I walk in a room, I promise you, they're gonna know I'm black before anybody else in this room.
We say all that. Don't turn on rap.
Do
music if I get in
not
your car.
do that to me
Don't do
because hard work pays off. I don't care where it comes from. It pays off. But we're not going to get off subject here. If y'all just now tuning in, this is Heath Boackle.
No, let's get on subject, man. Let's talk, man.
People, man. This is Heath Boackle. He's running for Jefferson County Sheriff. Jefferson County Sheriff. Democratic. And isn't that incredible? In Jefferson County, we have a Republican sheriff.
Here's the thing.
Which is a Democratic county.
I don't.
If I'm not mistaken,
I don't
right? It's a
care
blue county.
About Democrat, Republican anymore. I'm going to say this today. I'm tired of this. Because we keep hearing people, these people are running as Democrats, but they actually Republican. You know what? I don't give a flip. Call me Republican from here on out because I've always told y'all I care nothing about Democratic Party. And that means I don't ever have to get voted in anything. Because one, I care about the people. Right? That's what I'm looking for from here on out. Because we got people in these parties who only want to be rock stars. We got people in these parties who only want to be this, and this. And we're dying in these streets.
Every day.
You understand what I'm saying?
Every day.
Before long, that Mike Brown, that what is his name, Philando Castro and all those, that's going to happen here. But when you got people, that whole career, all they did was write tickets. Now they want to be sheriffs. You got people who have gotten demoted twice, who want to be sheriffs, but because they're black, we should vote them in. If Danny Carr didn't do his job,
we wouldn't vote him in.
I wouldn't vote for Danny Carr.
Absolutely.
But I've researched Danny. We understand Danny is doing what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Heath is saying, I've been in the communities. I've worked these streets. I know people that know Heath. They vouch for Heath, right?
Right.
But there's so many people who don't vouch for these other people. But because they're black.
Well, they'll start vouching when they get money. That's how that works.
Let's get them in the office, man. I'm a black man in this city.
Right. Absolutely.
And my life is threatened just like anybody else's. And I'm tired of it. You understand what I'm saying? Like I told you before, this is what I mean by I don't trust law enforcement. Because when I walk down the street or when a cop comes behind me, my knuckles turn white. Because either I'm going to fight, I ain't dying, Heath, without a fight. You understand what I'm saying? That's my mindset because people like, I don't see that, but I just don't trust them. Now I'm telling you today, I trust you, Heath. Because I have researched you. What made me do it is because of the black-white issue.
And you know, whoever started that, I'm actually glad they did. Excuse me, I don't mean to crunch ice on the mic.
You're good. It's the best ice.
But it is good ice. But, you know, a lot of people... So, let me back up a few steps because I want to touch on some things. You know, when Chief Roper first came here, he assigned me to be over the K-9 unit, which was, as we all know, a very touchy thing in the city of Birmingham.
Right.
So we had to implement things where I wanted to make sure that our unit was seen in the right way. So the first thing we started doing was I immediately had a policy done that under no circumstances would we put a patrol dog, in other words, the dogs that are trained to bite, inside housing projects. Okay, that was done. It's in the right. It's our rules. And the other thing is the president of the FOP. I've gone to numerous before I ever announced candidacy, and that's when a lot of people started calling me now. Hey, man, I'm glad you're running because I didn't have to go meet with these community presidents.
Right.
Some of them I was the guest speaker at their Christmas luncheons and their Christmas dinners.
Right.
But the purpose of that is to start working with community people now. And I will continue to do that as sheriff, not just neighborhood presidents, but community leaders, preachers, all these different hats that people wear. They can all bring something to the table to help resolve the issues. The sheriff, I don't care who's elected, the sheriff can't do it alone. The law enforcement community can't do it alone. It's going to take everybody working together. And just like what Mr. Malone was just saying, there's a lot of people that just don't like the police. Now, I'm not going to put him on the spot and say, well, what's happened? But something's probably happened. It's irrelevant, but something's happened. And that's where, you know, if the wrong law enforcement officer sees Lonnie walking down the street and then they stop him, you already don't like law enforcement. If he comes at you the wrong way, that's how it all gets blown out of proportion. That's why we challenge the law enforcement community. You know, you've got to get out and treat people with respect.
Absolutely.
If you do that, 9 times out of 10, they'll give you respect back. Now, not everybody.
Right.
Not everybody.
Right.
But at least you're the one, the public official that signed up to do this. That needs to be the first thing you need to do.
There are several things that happen in life. But the very last thing that happened to me, I got pulled over by homeboy. You know what my son said? My 10-year-old son said? Dad, you're not going to die, are you? This is what he said to me when he came to the car. You understand what I'm saying? If a 10-year-old is asking that.
Yeah.
If a 10-year-old is asking that, man, we have issues in this country. You understand what I'm saying? It's frustrating because you put on a uniform and you kill my people. You understand what I'm saying? It's nothing for me to say I love. My 6-year-old wants to be a policeman. You understand? But when you got people who are dying in these streets, selling cigarettes, selling DVDs or CDs, somebody in the car with a child, and they get shot, man, we got problems. The issue is you put on a uniform and you think your ass is safe because you can kill people. This lady shot somebody walking away, talking about she went deaf. Well, shoot yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about here.
No,
See, this is the thing we dealing with. Birmingham, we killing each other. Mm-hmm. You got people who don't know who to go to. What are we going to do when it get to Birmingham like it is around these cities?
Right.
Because it's going to get to the point where we got all these people in here and they feel like they can kill us.
Yeah.
Death grows a city. We had 18, 19 murders, and it's just March.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when the police start doing it? We need people in this office, man, and it's not against you.
I understand. No, I understand.
It's not against you. What it's saying is we need people in these offices now that's going to do something.
That's going to take the community seriously.
Because the only thing that's different between now and the civil rights is hose pipes.
Yeah.
Fire hoses. Because we getting bit by dogs now.
Right.
We getting beat by police now.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's deeper than a political race for me. It's deeper. Because when I was a child, I got slammed on the car by police. Going through Hoover, 6 police cars and 2 motorcycles. And the reason we found out what they were doing...
Well, that's not just right.
Because we turned left and went to Vestavia and
Right.
got pulled over. And Vestavia said, just so happened they knew my stepbrother. And he said, man, we already knew y'all were coming. They told us to pull y'all over on a broken tail light.
Wow.
This stuff is deeper. This is happening throughout all our lives. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not the fact that you can put on a uniform. Do your job, man.
That's right.
You're not here to kill us. You're here to serve.
Protect. Thank you, man.
And
Thank you, man.
That's back to
Protect.
my point, because all these issues that have happened, and some that are happening today, if it was not for body camera footage and those types of things, we would not know the outcome. And those, every encounter with law enforcement, most people go throughout their lives and have no issues.
Right.
But there's some that have some. And we need to pay attention to those.
Right.
And we need to look at it in both angles. Was the officer professional? Did he treat the person with respect? Now, it's hard for a law enforcement officer if you pull up on a guy and he's got a gun in his hand and then you start arguing back and forth. I understand that. But just an average, simple traffic stop,
Right.
and wanting to ask somebody or tell them why you stopped them, those are the first encounters that people have with law enforcement. And that's what most of it is, are these simple run-of-the-mill traffic stops. And, we got a lot of work to do, Lonnie. I'm not going to sit here and say that Heath Boackle can solve it all, but I'm willing to work at it.
Can you start it is the question.
And that was going to be my next thing.
Yeah,
I'm
can you
telling you,
start it?
it's going to be started.
Yeah.
But see, we talk about the crime. We've got a problem too, and a lot of people don't really talk about this until it happens to them, and that's with human trafficking. That's a big deal going on. Right now.
Yeah.
We got a
huge
question
deal.
on here about human trafficking.
And what's funny, I can't, but we're not even scratching the surface on that. Luckily, we've got some people that have come together. I just went through some training about it, and they enlightened me on a lot of things. So we've got to have somebody at the table involved in that, because again, this is a very big county. People get caught up in, I live in this city or in that city, but when you got a county that's got almost 660,000 residents, that's a lot of people in one county.
Absolutely.
Okay? And then you want to make sure that everybody is represented and their thoughts and their needs are met. That's how come, as the sheriff, you've got to have someone that's going to be out there in the field listening to what people say, watching shows like this, listening to radios, coming on and talking to people, not just every 4 years when it's election time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there a community liaison office in the sheriff's department? Do you know?
You know, I think that there is, but I tell you one thing the sheriff's office does not have a lot of, and those are community service officers. So in other words, if the law enforcement officers encounter somebody that's mentally ill, okay?
Right.
And I'll speak on Birmingham because I know what they have or what we have is, you know, we have what's called CSOs. These are people that are licensed and trained to come and deal with people that are mentally ill. To my knowledge, I'm only being told the sheriff's office only has 2 that cover the whole county. How is that feasible? You know, and that's another tier of this tree is the mentally ill. And what are we going to do to work with them? Not everybody that uses drugs should be locked up in the county jail. Right. You know, I would like to see 2 separate doors at that county jail. One door going in for people where they're arrested, you know, or charged with some type of serious crime, robbery, homicide, something of that.
Absolutely.
But another door where people can go in and get treatment for help if they're, whether it's opioids, whether it's marijuana, whether it's cocaine. These people need help.
Right.
The alcoholic can go to Bradford.
Right.
You understand? Unless the alcoholic is drunk and has a DUI and hits somebody and that kind of stuff happens, or is arrested for DUI. But we've got to have something to where people that have these drug problems can get help. And while they're there, try to teach them a trade so they can learn something, so they can try to better themselves and ultimately better society and give them a fighting chance in life. Because right now, we're not doing that.
No.
You want to talk about why jails are so overcrowded? Was, you know, somebody had drugs here, drugs there. They've never done a violent crime in their life. They just have a possession of a narcotics.
Why should a guy go to jail for a joint of marijuana? Just to be honest.
And the bond's even different for different people.
All I'm saying is, man, you basically you got marijuana that is legal in the states in the United States now, and it is almost about to be legal in all of the United States. 10 years, I know it is. So how could you do that? I mean, being the sheriff and you got to, how do we, because this is the level where it really needs to touch. We always talk about it to the politicians. But now this is right here, even though you still got to uphold the law because you are in law enforcement.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I understand that part, but how do we work that fine line?
So, you know, the first thing I would do once elected is first sit down with these judges and see, you know, what the county actually offers. Because since I've been on this trail, I hear a lot of other candidates speak, judge candidates, and I hear, you know, some current sitting judges on what they do. I'm very familiar with, you know, some of the drug courts here in Jefferson County. But they would be the first ones I would go to, listen to what they had to say, ideas, and then ultimately start talking with representatives down in Montgomery to try to say, look, let's get on to bigger fish here. You know what I mean? You know, just because a guy's got a sack of weed and he may be a college student, now he's going to get his whole career ruined.
Absolutely.
Because he wanted to smoke some weed, but yet he can fly to California and smoke weed all day long. When he gets, so you really got to look at the totality of everything. And I challenge everybody to, because there's some people how can I say this? Not everybody's going to like that. That's one thing I've learned in this political arena. I don't care what I say.
Everybody's not going.
Not everybody's going to like it, and then you're going to have the people, you know, blast things, you know, behind stuff. But that's just my stance on that. I think we have way too many people incarcerated for simple drug possession cases.
Totally agree. Totally agree with that. We'll get back on the politics side a little bit here. The sheriff office has a budget. What is he doing with the funds, man? I just would really, I've always wanted to. I've never got a chance.
I'm going to be honest.
And I think it's a pretty large budget, right?
It is, but I don't know all the workings of that budget because I'm going to be honest. I'm just trying to make it through this primary right now.
Gotcha.
I'm the only, you know, we're fighting amongst each other.
Yeah.
You know, but I assure you, if I pull out the Democratic nomination, I will study that because I've got enough on the sitting sheriff. I don't need to study him. I need to understand where all this money's going. I know he's responsible for paying food at the inmates. And that's a lot of money that the inmates' food bills get. You know, I believe in this though.
Absolutely.
Whatever the contracts are that the sheriff is over, it will be transparent and it will be a bidding process.
And I said
it's
that
not
for a
just
reason.
going to be, you know, hey, this guy knows this guy, he'd be good at it. No, we're going to bid on this stuff, and we're going to be open with who the bidders are and let everybody know. And then I'd even like to even take it to the final thing, be it the county commissioners, and let them vote on it. So me being the sheriff, I'm not just approving something myself,
Right.
But and I don't know if I can do that. But those are things that I would like to do.
I would love for you to dig into that, because that's why I said that, because county commissioners actually set the budget for the sheriff, if I am not mistaken. You remember every time he goes to a county commission meeting, he basically sets the budget where he wants it.
Yeah.
Gets no flack about it. Nobody says anything about it.
Well, people are scared of money.
It's a Republican.
I'll be honest with you.
And I hate to get into the party politics of it all, but you got, okay, I know you got Republicans sitting up there, but you got 2 Democrats sitting in that seat also, man.
But again, that's why I'm telling you the issue we got.
I know what you're saying, but
because if you got
that's
3 Republican and 2 Democrat,
Yeah.
who's going to win?
Well, and that's where I challenge us all to be smart, because
Absolutely.
we're too busy talking
Absolutely.
about we're beating up Democrats here. And in the Republican side, they're just sitting over there. Oh,
Sitting back like-
that's really the cause of Republican. None of them know me.
Right.
None of them know Heath Boackle.
Right.
You put that out there all you want to try to muddy, but I'm going to tell you something. I can beat Mike Hill, and I don't feel any of the other ones can. So we are hurting ourselves
Yes.
by doing it. Now, I challenge any other candidate to sit up here and talk, and whatever their platform is, do it. Let the voters decide. But that Republican establishment I just got through talking about, now keep in mind Mike Hill won as a Democrat in '97 and then switched over.
Absolutely.
Shortly thereafter.
Absolutely.
And then we all know how the chips fell after that. However, you don't hear Mike talking strategies. You don't hear what he's going to do. You're not going to hear from him.
No.
But I promise you, he's paying somebody to listen to what's happening right now. I promise you, somebody's going to be putting something out about this right now that's working for him,
Right.
because he's got a large budget. Go look at his campaign finance, how much money he's raised.
Wow.
Okay, so sit back and you got to look at the big picture of this. If Mike has always beat the Democrats that have faced him, always. No one's ever challenged Mike in a lot of years that was not within that department. I'm not
Within the department.
Within the department.
No one outside
To my knowledge, in a long time, no one on the Democratic side
has done it.
has done it that did not ultimately work in the sheriff's department.
Well, let me ask you this question then. I guess this leads to a great question. Do you have to be a deputy sheriff to run for sheriff?
No.
It's an elected job, right?
It's an elected job, but there's certain requirements that you have to meet. You have to have certain, law enforcement background,
Understood.
that kind of stuff.
But that means a Birmingham policeman could, a Homewood
right.
policeman could,
Anybody could.
midfield, anybody could
Absolutely.
run for that office.
Absolutely. And see, that's where they try to come at us as Democrats.
Right.
Well, what do you possess to run this county this big? I was a captain here, a lieutenant. I'm glad you took a test and got promoted. That don't mean that you can lead people.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? I chose not to move up past the rank of sergeant because I wanted to stay with the boots on the ground officers to know what's happening out in the field. And anybody that's ever worked with me or for me will tell you that. People in the FOP will tell you that. Does everybody in the FOP like Heath Boackle? No, they don't.
Right.
I understand that. And even if I'm successful, not everybody's going to like me. But I'll still talk to you. I'll listen to you. And we're going to find something we can agree on, I hope, because we all are trying to solve the problem. And what the problem is the homicides here in Jefferson County. Not in Birmingham.
Not in Birmingham.
Your
Absolutely.
MAC Center that costs millions of dollars, guess what, is in Birmingham, Alabama,
Right.
not in unincorporated Jefferson County. What are we doing to protect these kids?
Right.
There's 100 unsolved murders. Oh, well, most of them happen in the city of Birmingham. It's in Jefferson County.
Right.
You've got this ample resources. Most municipalities don't have the money the county has. Everybody pays a county tax. Okay, not everybody pays a city tax.
That's right.
You understand?
That's
so you've got all this money. What are you doing? You got all these resources. What are you doing? Midfield, Lipscomb, Brighton, Fair. They don't have all that.
Right.
You got Centerpoint now having to pay you to provide police services up there.
Pay the county.
Okay, they pay the county to have those deputies work up there.
But
All
don't
right?
you see a problem? It's a Democratic county.
That's my
But
thing.
you put
But
in
you got a
a-
Republican sheriff.
So you're saying that you can't
And a
find
Republican
anybody?
and a Republican district attorney. Remember, that's how we got back. So we got started.
But
with
that's
this.
what I'm saying.
You've got-
Don't you see the problem in that?
So let me give you these
I don't get
stats
it.
because this is
I don't get
I scratched my head about the same thing,
Yeah, I don't
and
get
I'm
that.
just going to read this because I had to type it. So Jefferson County has a population of, like I said earlier, around 660,000 people. Of the total population, 53.4 are Caucasian, 43.4 are African American, and 3.7 are Hispanic. Birmingham is the most populous city in Jefferson County with a population of 212,000 people. About 3/4 of Birmingham is populated by African American. So back to your question, when you look at the whole county, you got to remember there's parts of the county that's going to vote Republican. I don't care who it is or what it is.
Absolutely.
And we all know those areas.
Absolutely.
Okay. Even me going there talking, they
don't care about
they hear my platform. Somebody raises their hand. Well, you're a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. And I could tell them that I'm whoever.
Right.
But once you mention that you're a Democrat, it's it. It's kind of like now I'm really a closet Republican. Blah. Pull my voting record. See how I vote. And in case to remind you, I took time off from my day-to-day job to run security for Doug Jones. I didn't receive one red penny.
You didn't get paid at all.
Not one red penny from that campaign. I did that because I believed in it.
Right.
Most of my family is, like I said, are Arabic. There's a lot of them that are Muslims. Do you really think there's Muslims that are Republicans with what's going on right now in this country?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at the big picture. And stop believing everything you're seeing on this social media stuff where you want to hide behind these bogus names and this bogus stuff. Be a man or a woman and let's come out and talk about it. Yeah. Don't just hide behind somebody you got to send folks emails with all this kind of stuff, who this guy is. Know who I am. You want to be facts about something, let's talk facts. Right. I challenge you, sit down, let's talk about it.
See, this is what we're talking about with the voter education.
Absolutely.
Now, you can read this about him, but you see this man here.
Absolutely.
None of those other candidates have stepped up. They're black, right?
Yeah.
We're black, right?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Why haven't they reached out to us? I guess.
Well, one has. Let's be fair. He has.
To you, then.
To me.
I didn't get that call.
You didn't get that call.
Well, I can honestly say I didn't get that
But
call.
let me say this. Nothing. They're supposed to come to the show. I'll leave it that way.
Okay.
I'll leave it that way.
Okay.
Okay. I never say anything until it's confirmed, so you never have me do that. I will never say it unless it's confirmed. But it was just awful strange that it happened after this interview.
That's the way it always happens. Just like when
because as a matter of fact, and again, I'm not calling any names, but when Joshua was working for us at the time, he was at their campaign kickoff, wasn't he?
Yeah. I know exactly.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the perfect opportunity, ain't that right, Jules? It was a perfect opportunity for this guy to say, hey, can we come on? But, again, I understand. Lonnie and I totally understand. They still don't want to respect what we have here. So I know what you're going through, coming through Jefferson County. Because people just... But when you're on a mission, it doesn't matter.
It's like the old Rocky saying. Everybody's watched Rocky at some time in their life and talks about how hard life hits. It's not about how hard you hit; it's about getting hit and getting up. That's what my wife and I have 5 kids total. Okay, I've got 5, so there's a lot of things I'm still doing as a father. All right, am I missing things to do this? Absolutely. I'm missing my stepson's soccer game right now, but it's for the betterment of the county. You understand?
Gotcha.
Nothing in this world that anyone ever wishes to accomplish, you got to make sacrifices.
Right.
Now, I told my wife and my kids, if I'm successful in June, I want to take about a week off because this is really every day working 8 hours and hitting this political trail. But it's important, especially when I have people on my team that say, they're saying this. I mean, it just infuriates me. And they tell me, well, you got to get off social media. And I have for the most part because these people don't know me.
Absolutely.
You should have been at my campaign kickoff, when we had all these people show up. That's people that I played football with at Huffman High School. Those are cops that I've worked with. And they're people that I worked with in the community that were even there. Right. That just knew Heath as the sergeant of Birmingham. Right. That just knew Heath as, hey, he come by and he bought my kid's layaway off 3 years ago from Walmart. Right. See, those are the things that when you Google my name, you don't want to find. You want to find stuff that you just want to talk about. You think it's a hot topic, and it's actually a moot point.
Yeah.
I got a Rob Lee that says, ask Boackle to repeat his campaign promise, please.
Which part?
Just, I guess, your platform, like your...
About being out there and being...
No, just your, whatever you're running.
Actually, being in the community.
Being in the community.
Definitely in the community.
Your platform.
The platform is just real simple about bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community. That's the whole platform, and it goes there from community service and then leadership. So maybe if he can be a little more... If he's trying to speak on the fact of where I said earlier, and I said all of it live, I will continue to be out in the field if elected.
No, your 3 points.
Which was community service and leadership. Those are our 3 points.
Like
Absolutely.
And if you just join us, we have Heath Boackle. He's a candidate for 2018 sheriff race. Birmingham, what are you now?
So currently I am a sergeant with the Birmingham Police Department. I've been with Birmingham almost 21 years.
And have you worked the streets where you actually got out with the people and everything like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was in patrol on the east side of Birmingham. Shortly after working patrol, I went to the narcotics division, where I worked undercover there as a narcotics detective. Got promoted, stayed there as a sergeant, and ended up being over. And then shortly after that, I went to the tactical unit for a brief stint, and then Chief Roper wanted me to be over the K9 unit here in Birmingham.
As we're getting ready to close, I want you got any questions for us?
No, we're fine. I'm floored. Right?
Give us a great story about being a policeman. That's something that's happened to you personally in the streets. That, you know, give us. Like I said, I don't want to hear negative stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot. So
and then after that, close us out with however you want to close.
We're letting you close out today,
Okay,
man. You got the 5 minutes. You got the floor.
I'll try to keep it under 5 because I feel like I've been talking a lot. But let me say this. So
wait, whoa. You're turning into a politician now.
I
see
that.
So
3 points and he's out.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of positive experiences while being in law enforcement. You know, my godfather, he owned Woodlawn Ice House. And I remember for years always going by there when I was a beat cop, and everybody loved Dave. But I remember one day being out there, and there was a young man standing on the backside of Woodlawn Ice House, and he needed some help. And I knew he needed some help by just his demeanor. You know, some people are just kind of standoffish, and he was very standoffish and wanted to talk. And he's like, "Hey, officer, can I just talk to you for a minute?" And, you know, I sat and I talked to that gentleman for almost 10. I had to get out of the radio because I was a busier part of town. But, you know, when we all think we have issues, you know, everybody's got problems. Everybody. You know, and it's how you challenge those and how you want to make yourself a better person. So as I was talking with that young man, you know, he says, you know, how are you able to do what you do? You know, what makes you want to be a cop? You know, why a policeman? Why not be something else? And I simply said, because I want to protect everybody and help all that I can. Well, I saw that young man again about 3 years later, and he now is an accountant, and he still remembers that conversation. And I really don't want to get in depth about everything we talked about because it'd be more than 5 minutes. But, you know, he came from a broken home. He had a father that was nowhere to be seen. He had a mother that was working 2 jobs just to help keep a roof over his head. But see, he saw all these other kids have all these nice things, and he didn't have anything. And he always felt like he was never going to make it in life. And we had some great dialogues. That's probably one of my most, because we talk to a lot of people,
Right.
you know, but when you see somebody that you met that was down on their luck for whatever reason, and then they become successful people, that means a lot. That means a lot. And I want to continue to do that. And we still continue to do that. My family and my whole family has well over 87 years of law enforcement, public safety to the citizens of Birmingham, Alabama. That's a lot. That's a lot. And, you know, I'm not in this for anything other than just to be held. I want to be held accountable. And I'm going to say that again. Maybe that was what that young man was, or that gentleman was talking about.
Right.
Because I believe every person that's elected to whatever they want to be elected to should be held accountable. I think there ought to be video recordings just like it's happening right now, so that when they're not, you can blast it out. Hey, you said 5 years ago you were going to be held accountable. Because you can't let money and power change you. You understand? Because we're all trying to get something now, but also when you get elected and you get all this power, you forget the people who got you elected.
Right.
That happens more than ever. And people buy folks for votes. People buy things, hey, I need you to support me on this. And you can't ever track the money, you know. But it makes you guys scratch your head. If so-and-so endorses somebody, well, why are they endorsing them? You know, we learned it a long time ago when it comes to endorsement, when I first started this campaign. I haven't asked anybody for any endorsements yet. Because everybody that sends me things, they all want money.
Welcome to the world of politics.
Don't vote for Heath Boackle because I'm going to give you money to vote for me or to get out to vote for me. I want you to vote for Heath Boackle because I like what Heath is saying. I believe in what Heath is going to do and hold Heath accountable. But see, that's where these voters don't really understand that, because if they see Citizen A endorsing this person, they think, oh, we just need to believe it. Do your own research.
Absolutely.
Instead of being the thumb on Facebook all the time, research these people. Absolutely. Find out what you want to know about them, and then hold them accountable and ask them questions. So in closing, we have a great campaign team. It was very difficult for me to really get the thing going as a politician. Yeah. I really don't still like to use the word politician, right. Because I believe it's about public safety, and that's what's lacking here. So we want to bridge that gap with the community. We're on 3 principles: community, service, and leadership. Each one has a good breakdown. I believe in proper representation of the county, and what I mean by that is we all know the consent decree that was done in the county in the 70s. Mike likes to say it's been lifted, but it's still not properly represented. When you only have 15% of your deputies that are females, I believe that you want to have a more diverse group of your appointed positions, not just appoint people when elections a year later and all of a sudden you see all these appointed people of color coming into play. Where were they 4 years ago? Where were they 8 years? Where were they 10 years ago? So we want to be open. We want to be transparent. We want to be diverse. I believe in supporting females 100%. So much so, everyone on my campaign team are females. Yeah. Because they need a chance. They need a voice.
She give us trouble too. Big shout to Star, man. Yeah. Whoa, she tough. Man.
So and she is. People.
Tough.
People came at her. Why are you with this white guy? I had to sit down with Star just like I've been sitting down with you for an hour and understand what I have and what I cut. Don't just this one thing or this thing and that's it. He just can't be trusted or listened to. Sit down and let's talk about it. Yeah. And Star's tough.
Yeah, she's tough.
But I love Star. Yeah. Star's got a good heart. She's strong. I'm sure she's looking at something right now because I'm sure she's got her phone in her hand.
She's watching something. This. Oh yeah. She's watching
and it's the same.
Too.
It's the same thing. We've got a strong group, and when we win, we're gonna make sure these people get the credit.
Right.
Because they were with me when no one else was. When we first started this thing, no one wanted to really think I could stand a shot at this. But when I started talking and being held accountable for what I'm saying, let's have it. I've challenged these other people, the Democrat side, let's have a debate. Yeah. Let's talk. What are you going to do? You can't just go to these events and say you talk for 2 or 3 minutes and you hear what this one says, you gerrymander your own state. What are you going to do? But at the same time, we got to be careful not to bash one another so bad.
Right.
That like I said
the
earlier,
Hillary Clinton effect.
Exactly. And it's and that's how politics, one thing, talking to some strategists that study this, it's very similar to what happened. People will cast votes in primaries just to put who they want up there because they think they can hold a better fight. So, we ask folks to join us, boackleforsheriff.com. We still need a few more volunteers. Donations are welcome. We're on Facebook as well. So, again, thank you all for having me, and I hope that was about 5 minutes worth. I see everybody keeps looking at the clock.
Oh, no. You definitely.
People are jumping on still.
People are jumping on still, but no. Definitely was more than 5 minutes, though.
Well, I told you.
I got to give him, hey, man, good guy, man. We appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you. And listen, I'd love to come back. So if you ever have something, and hey, look, this is let's get him here.
Well, this is the deal. You know this. If you win the Democratic and God sees fit that you win the sheriff, we're gonna be the first 2 at you every day.
That's right.
Know that.
And know
that we'll be friends. We'll steal, but just because Lonnie's my friend doesn't mean he agree with me every day.
Absolutely.
So if we feel like the job is not getting done, we'll be the first ones on this thing right here saying, "Hey, man, this is not what you said."
That's what I'm not asking. I'm begging.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be that way, and it shouldn't just be Heath Boackle.
No, who's ever there,
especially in this sheriff's race.
Absolutely.
And that's the only one I want to talk about because that's what I'm in.
Absolutely.
If they're saying they're going to do something, then they need to be held accountable to do it. What is your mission to do it? How are you going to do it? How are you going to implement it? And those are talks that last another hour how we're going to implement things. Right. But I promise you, everything I've talked about here, I've got a starting point.
Right.
Now, is it guaranteed that it's going to work? No, everything can be on the fly, but it's going to get done because I'm saying it's going to get done.
We are not, none of us are the smartest people in the room. That's why we hire think tank people. But we know that it needs to be done, right?
That's right.
I just want to, before we go, we know the tragedy that happened, and I kind of jumped live a few minutes about what happened over there at Huffman. And our thoughts and prayers are with that young lady's family. But we still going to be after politicians about these gun laws. I'm not letting them off the hook. Don't you think I am? There's no way I'm letting them off the hook. You can carry a pistol in Jefferson County right now without a permit. Is that correct?
You can't carry it concealed.
But you can have it open without.
You can have an open carry. That's a big
open carry state, right?
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about right there, man. Yep. That's what I'm talking about right there. We got to do something about that. The states with the most gun ownership, Alaska's #1, Alabama's #8. The states with the most gun violence, Alabama and Alaska is 1 and 2. We got to look into that.
Yep.
Stats don't lie. Stats don't lie. You want to say something, man?
As usual, follow us on Facebook, Facebook page and group at Not Necessarily Political with James Williams and Lonnie Malone.
Or just go to Lonnie page.
YouTube, like and subscribe us, please, at James, Not Necessarily Political with James Williams and Lonnie Malone. Instagram at Not Necessarily Political. Twitter, we're going to do at Necessarily Not. And if you need to get in contact with us, candidates, if you would like to come onto the show, if you would like to donate to our cause for voter education, you can email us at notnecessarilypolitical@gmail.com. One thing before we go.
And he sowed a seed into us, and I didn't want to leave without saying that, and I appreciate that, man, because you didn't know us really.
I didn't.
And you sowed a seed, and you believed in what we were doing.
Absolutely.
And I want to make that public now because people put their monies in what they believe in, and I say that.
One thing that most people don't know about that forum was we wasn't supposed to be able to pull that forum off.
Absolutely.
We wasn't supposed to be able to do what we're doing because we're not going through the
conventional channels. Right.
We were almost just everything was trying to be stopped. That's what we're trying to show you here. We're going to keep going.
That's right.
No matter what people think about us, the harder you fight us, the smarter we're going to be. The smarter and harder we're going to go around you. But one thing I want people pay attention. It's not Democrat or Republican. Judges, DAs, sheriffs, county commissioners, they control a lot of power
in this county.
You just can't put people in there.
Absolutely.
And I'm not against any candidate. Trust me, I'm not. I purposely have not met a lot of them, which I normally do. I haven't met a lot of them. I researched them in the background, but I haven't done it. What we need to do, there's a lot of power going, people.
Keep talking, man. Put yourself back in there. I took Lonnie off, y'all. Don't bother me. I'm not taking
He took me off, so.
I took him off. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of power, people. Get with the person who is going to represent us the right way. Judges, DAs, sheriffs, county commissioners.
That's so important.
That's so important. Birmingham is great too.
But
I say too because that's what they use us like.
How many people live out here in these unincorporated Jefferson County
exactly
areas, man, and ain't getting represented at all? You know?
So pay attention, people. That's all we're saying. This is a very important. We understand municipal races are great, but these right here can actually put your children in jail. They can put you in jail.
No, I think, and also go the person that's so that's the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah. They
you
all
can get arrested. You can go see the
with
judge,
everybody that's running.
The district attorney is the guy that's prosecuting your kid. And you take
look
this
at
for
your sewer
granted.
debt and all this stuff.
Your
that's
sewer
going on.
debt right now. Y'all taking this for granted about the county.
Thank you for checking us. Next week, I have absolutely no clue who's on the show next week.
Oh God, and I know who it is.
I think James booked it.
Yeah, we got a state rep coming. Yeah, no, matter of fact, we'll have it up. Don't worry about it. It'll be up. I don't want.
So check us out. It might be an impromptu.
No, it's a
James
guest.
isn't the one that tells secrets around here.
That's what it is.
It's
We have a guest. I just don't know who it is. But thank you, Boackle, for coming out.
Thank y'all for
We
having
really
me.
appreciate the time for coming on our little show. Thank y'all. Have a great day.